What is going on? Huh? You can't make this BS up, family. That's right. I got a new. I'm coming up with a new name for you guys. I'm gonna put it in the poll. I don't know if y'all want to call yourself the non BS crew or no BS crew. We're gonna figure it out. But I want to tell everybody thank you so much for the interaction that I've been having on the podcast on these episodes lately. I want to say thank you so much. I got some comments from YouTube recently, and I'm definitely going to read that to you guys. And I also got some compliments on the podcast side of Spotify, finally, which is cool. So hopefully we can keep continuing to get the um, participation up. I also got some merch that I'm going to be working on soon. As soon as I design it, I'm going to buy me a shirt and I'm going to wear it to promote it. So hopefully we can get enough merch that people can be on board. We also going to be, I'm trying to see if I want to do like a merch box where you guys can get it in a bundle where you get, like, a tumbler, a shirt, or maybe some socks, something like that. I don't know yet. I'm going to have to like literally figure this out. Me and my wife are probably gonna do this together, whatever. So this podcast is being recorded actually on a Tuesday night. I'm gonna try to hook you guys up with all of everything that's supposed to be coming forth, especially another Black Friday crime as well. And also, I am going to put another episode on my paid subscription. Also, start checking out my Substack. On my Substack, I will be doing personal articles about recent cases and news events that's talking about true crime or even scams. So y'all guys can check that out. Follow your boy, show support. I have not done a paid subscription on that platform yet. We're gonna see how the followers go. To get enough followers, we'll start offering the paid subscription on that. We're trying to make this into a business, okay? A business to where you guys can actually enjoy the fact that we really are trying to horn our craft over here. So, without further ado, we are going to do some housekeeping like always. We're going to talk about the latest comments. We do that first of what people have stated about the episodes. And then after that, we will jump back into finishing up the fifth and final installment of Pee Wee Gaskins, the meanest man alive. So let's jump into the latest comment. This comment here is brought to you by out of the tragic case of Breonna Williams. That was an episode that we did. Man, what episode was that? Because that was like great. That was a crazy episode, by the way. Anyway, give me 1 second. That was. I'm gonna start putting these episodes at the end, the numbers on the ends now, so y'all can kind of get an idea where we at. Because we're at episode 31, so we're getting there. I want to say that had to be like episode 20 something about what happened with the Breonna Williams case. I know it was very sad because everybody was blown away that this lady had lied to the police about what happened to her daughter. I was fascinated from this case from the beginning because I am a prior military guy. So let me go and tell y'all what the comments is, so I don't get sidetracked. Sorry about that. I was about to get sidetracked. It says, this is from Brat. He did this about a day ago. He said, I've heard this case before, but this is the best I've heard it. So much more detail to the story. And my reply to Brat was, thank you so much. I also gave him to tell him to please also rate and follow the podcast. And to Brett, I really appreciate that because what we do over here, we try to take our time and give you the facts because there is so much that I feel like detail that needs to be addressed when you're doing these true crime stories. People want all the facts, they want the dates, they want everything that you can possibly give them so they could be like, all right, I can relate to this. You know what I'm saying? So that's why we do it. And we want to say thank you so much for taking the time out to put that there. On the next comment that's coming up, and this is from from the Pee Wee Gaskins episodes, the last one we did, which was I was shocked that I even got someone that was so into this episode that, and this is from a young one. I did not even know this youngin'. Y'all listen, I want to let parents know I do promote that 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 some of my material is not PG-13. There's a little rated R. So if your kid is on my podcast listening to this, I ain't encouraging it. This is what his remarks was. His remarks was, I live in the town he committed, and this is from Cypress System, by the way. And Cypress System, he said, I live in the town that he committed all his atrocities in. My grandfather played pool with him at a place called the White Horse and saw the inside of Gaskins' hearse. And his personal graveyard was behind my cousin's grandma's childhood home. My response was, oh, cool. I'm glad you shared that with me. Did you ever interact with him? And he said, he died before I was born. I'm 16, but my grandfather told me a lot about him when I started asking questions. My grandfather is still alive, so I definitely, so I'm going to ask some more. Okay, dude, that's cool, man. And thank you for your support, Cypress System. I hope that you like the last installment that we're coming with tonight. All right, y'all. Enough of all the housekeeping rules. Remember, like I said before, drop comments. It helps the algorithm of this broadcast. So please rate the show. It only takes but a few minutes to rate the show. Okay. All right. If you don't feel like it's a 5-star, just leave me a comment instead. But if you do like this show, please give it the most stars, 5 stars. We need it. All right, y'all. So where we left off is Pee Wee Gaskins has left a trail of nothing but carnage in his wake. He done killed 6 people on the last episode already. I mean, he is knocking them off like they are bowling ball pins, and he is one of the top bowlers in the league. And now we're going to go to the meat and potatoes of how he transferred from getting life in prison to being on death row with this final murder and other murders that he will confess to and show the dead bodies of. So let's get back to Pee Wee Gaskins, the 5th and final chapter of The Meanest Man in America. So before Donald Henry Pee Wee Gaskins did his last murder in a maximum security prison, he was already serving multiple life sentences. And these weren't based on speculation or fear. They were built on hard evidence. So there was multiple bodies, trails of witnesses, testimonies that even Gaskins wasn't even prepared for or could get rid of. But we are going to talk about the trials first before we talk about the murder that happened at the prison. So in 1975, following the murder of Silas Yates, investigators began to connect Gaskins to a series of disappearances in South Carolina low country. The key break came when a witness who helped bury one of the victims, fearing he would be next, went to the police. That tipped investigators to Gaskins' properties in Prospect, South Carolina. There, they unearthed a shallow grave. One by one, the remains of Diane Neely, Avery Howard, Dennis Bellamy, and John Henry Knight were recovered. The evidence was overwhelming. Bullets matched Gaskins' firearms, and the forensic results confirmed the victim's identity. Gaskins was arrested in 1976, and he was charged with multiple counts of murder. Now, let me let you know, in South Carolina, they're not called prosecutors, they're called solicitors. So I'm going to say solicitor, all right? So the solicitors had more than just bones. They had eyewitnesses, ballistic evidence, and more damning, Gaskins' own loose lips. Because, see, he bragged in jail. That's right. Old Pee Wee was like in jail, like, you know, they got me for all those murders. Well, I did it. Oh, yeah. I did the murder. They deserved it. That's all it is. I don't even know why they're even acting like this is such a big deal. You know, it's either kill or be killed. That's how he was doing it out here, man. Man just did not kill. So during the trial, when the court heard about Gaskins' methods, the manipulation, the premeditation, the cover-ups, the jury sat through the graphic forensic evidence, testimony from family members of the victims, and chilling details about how the bodies were buried and why. The solicitor portrayed Gaskins not as a serial killer, but a predator who killed to protect himself, a man who murdered out of calculation and compulsion. And the jury had agreed. So in 1976, Gaskins was sentenced to life in prison for the murders of Diane Neely, Avery Howard, Dennis Bellamy, and John Henry Knight. Charges for the Kim Gelkin, which was the 13-year-old girl that we talked about, and others were pending on close in the plea deals. South Carolina didn't yet have the death penalty reinstated, or Gaskins may have been executed then and there. But instead, he was shipped off to Central Correctional Institution as a life, and he sure was not remorseful, and he was still dangerous. And once again, he was going to have the opportunity to kill someone behind the prison wall. So let me go up here, pull that one up. All right. So as Pee Wee Gaskins started serving his time, he was not just another inmate, okay, serving a life sentence. He was a man with a reputation among the inmates. They looked at him as a legend, a killer whose crimes stretched across counties, decades, and even inside the justice system itself. And so him being sentenced to life in prison was just, to Pee Wee, was like another day in the park. Now, behind the wall, Pee Wee Gaskins cultivated influence. He ran errands for the guards, right? He acted as a jailhouse informant. He was a go-in-between for the inmates and the outside world. He was a hustler. He was always figuring out a way to keep himself busy, okay? But there's one more thing that Pee Wee Gaskins was always watchful for and ready to do: an opportunity to kill. So it's in 1982, right? Gaskins has been in prison now for roughly about 8 years. No, not 8 years. I would say 6 years. Roughly about 6 years. So he came in contact with a young death row inmate named Rudolph Tyner. Now, Tyner was only 23 years old, and he was convicted of murdering an elderly white couple, Bill and Myrtle Moon, doing a robbery at their country store in Myrtle Beach. Shout out to Myrtle Beach. Just before Myrtle Beach was like this extra popping tourist spot. They had country stores all along the way, especially when you were going towards Horry County. Now, their son, Tony Simo, he wanted revenge. He wanted real revenge. He felt like that just as an old boy being sentenced to to death wasn't the move. So Tony contacted someone who he knew could get things done behind bars. And through his associates, they told him, man, talk to Pee Wee Gaskins. The message was clear. Tyner needed to die. And Gaskins, he agreed. But there was a price now. And he was ready to make it happen from inside death row. Y'all, hold on. My dog's barking. Now, how do you murder someone while you supposed to be under 24-hour surveillance in one of the most secure prisons in the country? Well, let me rewind that now. You gotta remember, this is before they had all this video cameras and all that stuff. We're talking about back in the early 80s. So basically, you had to rely on the sight of the guards. But then again, even with that, y'all also know in any prison back then, there was what you call a lot of blind spots. And protocols wasn't as sharp as it was back then. But we'll talk about that another time. So let's jump into what they did. So Pee Wee had to be creative. So the first thing Pee Wee tried was the poison Tyner. Because, you know, you got to get close to Tyner and be good buddy with him. And he tried to put cyanide into his food. But that plan didn't work out. Tyner either didn't digest enough or was immune to its taste. So that's when Gaskins was like, you know what? We want to do something else. We're gonna have to go a little bit more violent. We're gonna have to rely on explosive. Yeah, that's what I just said. They're gonna rely on explosive. And I'm finna bring up Rudolph Tyner's picture because I want to make sure that y'all are knowing who this guy is. And I'm gonna try to see if I can find a good picture of. I don't think there's really a good picture of Rudolph Tyner. So I'm gonna have to go with what the one they said in the book, how he looked. So I do know that Rudolph Tyner, when I was also doing my research, that this guy also had a mental disability. I do know that. I do know that a lot of people in his immediate family circle said he was not that smart at all. So I'm gonna show y'all. This is Rudolph Tyner. This is how he looks. This is the target for Pee Wee. So he managed to smuggle a bomb materials into the prison. Now some people say some say he got it from through a network of corrupt guards, outside contacts, and some said even woodshop, allegedly. Okay, he assembled a crude but deadly device inside an intercom speaker, something Tyner would never suspect. And then he rehearsed the con. Over a prison line, Gaskin convinced Tyner that he was going to communicate via intercom as part of some secret smuggling operation. And Tyner took the bait because y'all remember, criminals are intrigued if there's a way that they can smuggle some things without getting caught. And it was just, he took it. So on the night of September 12, 1982, Gaskins passed the wired intercom speaker to Tyner through a small opening between the adjoining cells. He told Tyner to plug it in. He said they would need to test the line. Tyner hesitated. Yo, man, people, you think this shit safe, man? You know what I mean? This is like not a normal intercom line. What if something could go wrong, Pee Wee? And you know how Pee Wee said in his voice, come on, Rudolph, I'm your buddy. We got to get this thing done right? You need that contraband in your cells, right? Take my advice, my friend. This is something that's going to benefit both of us down the line. Man, so Tyner finally pushed the plug into the wall socket. And in an instant, they heard a boom. That's right. It was actually loud. And it ripped through the cell, killing Tyner instantly. It was one of the first recorded use of a remotely detonated bomb inside a U.S. prison. And Gaskins, he sat back in his cell and smiled. He had put off the unthinkable, a death row hitman job executed with chilling precision. Man, authorities were pissed and stunned. Investigators quickly uncovered the truth, and the plan unraveled fast. And they flipped one of Gaskins' prison associates, who gave them everything. Dude was singing like a canary. He was like, yo, 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 yo. This. I tell you how it all was done, man. Okay? Tony, the parents, the son of the parents that Rudolph Tyner killed, man. They called for Pee Wee, bro. They was like, yo, Pee Wee, I need you to do this, man. And he gave him a certain amount of money. You know, that's how things went, bro. Like, I didn't know Pee Wee was gonna do this. I thought it was a con with another con, not an actual death sentence. And then they got Gaskins' confession as well. You know, Gaskins. Yeah, I did it. He had to go. I mean, I was getting paid for a job, and you know, he killed that boy's mother and father. Even though he done killed way worse. But I digress. So, with this going on, the FBI had wired the prison line in advance. They captured Pee Wee describing the bomb in his own voice. Yeah, it was crazy. So in 1983, Gaskins stood trial once again, this time for the murder of Rudolph Tyner. The evidence was overwhelming. The jury didn't need long. They found him guilty first-degree murder and sentenced his ass to death. It was the second time Gaskins had killed while in prison. For the first time, the state was finally ready to make him pay with his life. That's right. Because remember we talked about last time he killed someone in prison, it was when he was younger. He killed the guy. But it was really, he got away with it because it looked like self-defense. Well, now it wasn't going down this way. So after his second conviction, Gaskins was moved to death row. And this time it was for real. No more games, no more hustle. So in his final years, you know, Gaskins found a way to stay busy. He worked with author Wilton Earl to write his autobiography titled The Final Truth. Now, if you read this book, I've read some of it. It is very graphic. A lot of people said that Pee Wee Gaskins did a lot of exaggerating on crimes that to this day they can't prove that he actually did do. But he swear out that in the book that he had did over 100 murders. Now they can only prove he's done 13 to 50, but then there's some people that really believe that Pee Wee was killing that many people. But then some people said he only did it to enjoy the spotlight because he gave interviews, he posed for photos, and seemed almost proud of his reputation as the meanest man in America. But you know, he knew he didn't have long in this earth because the clock was ticking. So in the days leading up to the execution, right, Gaskins showed no remorse. He didn't beg for clemency. He didn't cry. He said he was ready to go. He was like, I'm ready to go. I done did what I had to do. I done proved everything. I'm one of the meanest man in America. It's time for me to go to the next part of my journey. Whatever the hell that's about. Oh, well, we know what that's about to be. He refused the special last meal. He wanted to eat a regular prison dinner. He spent the evening writing letters and praying, or so he claimed. People say they didn't see Pee Wee Gaskins got on his knees and say not one prayer or wrote one letter. So I'm quite sure that Pee Wee was probably just chilling, just like, oh well, I'm ready to get down this bitch. So at 1:05 a.m. on September the 6th, 1991, Donald Henry Gaskins was led to the execution chamber at the Central Correctional Institution. He said nothing. He made no final statement. 5 minutes later, after two jolts from the electric chair, with Pee Wee Gaskins being so small, he was pronounced dead. So South Carolina's most notorious killer has went to the afterlife. News of Gaskins' death spread quickly. A lot of people were happy as hell. Others still wanted answers about missing people, unsolved murders, and whether he even told the truth. Now, his autobiography, Final Truth, became a controversial bestseller. He had it released right after his death. He had told the author, listen, soon as I die, get that shit published, make that shit available in stores. Some people call it American Horror Story. Others call it evidence of a justice system that waited too long to stop a killer and gave him free rein. The prison system, embarrassed by Gaskins' ability to kill from death row, started to look at all their protocols in the state of South Carolina and other states too. But the families of his victims, it wasn't even about procedure or policy at this point. It was about peace. And on the day, for some of them, they finally got it. So here's my thoughts about Pee Wee Gaskins. When I think about Pee Wee Gaskins, I really don't see just a killer. I see a man that was a master manipulator, a man who understands how to exploit every system he touched, from the courts to the streets to the prison wall. And I also look at him as an opportunist. Pee Wee Gaskins never turned down an opportunity to show everyone that he was pure evil. I mean, why would he? I mean, this was his opportunity to always promote fear around anyone that he came in contact with, and to be calculated at that. And not to mention, his evil was not like a cartoonish or what Hollywood would sell to you. This was a controlled evil. You know what I'm saying? This is like that type of evil that's calculated. It's calm, but it's dark. And that what really just disturbs me the most about this case. I mean, we talking about this man could take a smile when he talk about violating. He could laugh when he described how he took somebody out. I mean, like, he ain't had no soul. He didn't want to. He ain't had no remorse. Talking about these things to him was like another day at the park, and he really wasn't scared that people would hear what he had to say. You know, a lot of people say, "Well, man, I would have done this. I would have done that to him on this. I would have shot him dead on the spot." Well, how can you say that you'll be able to do that with the shock factor of someone being able to tell you that in a comfortable manner? That's the shock factor. That's what makes you not able to respond like you think you're going to respond. Because someone is literally telling you that they commit a horrific crime in detail and cool about it and is walking among the free. And that's, to me, the legacy that he left behind. And we'll probably never know how many people he fully have killed out here in Florence County and other surrounding areas while he was operating. And one thing we do know, though, is that Donald Henry Gaskins used fear to rule, silence, and hide his victim. And now the silence finally belongs to his victim. Again, thank y'all for listening to the 5th installment of Pee Wee Gaskins, The Meanest Man in America, Part 5. I really enjoyed doing this series, and the reason why I enjoyed doing this series for you guys, it made me learn a lot about Pee Wee Gaskins that I did not know about. It also showed me that people can operate with no soul at any given moment. And last but not least, it be your family that will kill your ass. Talking about how he got rid of his niece and her friend. So, thank y'all so much for supporting me. Thank y'all for continuing to reach out and inspire me. Again, this will be released right after in the next 30 minutes on this beautiful Wednesday morning. I hope y'all enjoy the final installment. And boy, I tell you, I'll make sure the next trailer of goodies that's coming up, you're definitely going to enjoy. Thank y'all once again. I am out.